Good morning, and welcome to Bible in a Year as we are now on day 81 of 365. As we go through the Bible, we're going through the New International Version. And why the Bible? Why do we want to do this in a year? Well, because it's the greatest love story between God and God's people. And we are God's people. So we're reading the book that is not just a book, it's the inspired Word of God. And so we delight in reading it. Today we are now going through, so I said we're going through the Bible, we're going through Bible broken up into different sections. This is created by Jeff Cavins. It's called the Adventure Timeline. And we are now in a new period. I don't know if you see, got a new color, new period. It's called Conquest and Judges. So we're going to be going through Joshua, Ruth, Judges, and 1 Samuel. So, why is this important? Well, Conquest and Judges, this is about conquesting into the Promised Land, and how after they're settled in the Promised Land, then there's a series of judges that come up. The reason why judges is because the people continue to fall away from God, and the judges hold them, save them from their own destruction. And so we see this series of judges all the way through. There's 12 judges up until the point of Samuel. And then Samuel becomes the first prophet, and he gets ready for the first king. So that's what we'll cover in this section. And so today we are on day 81 of day 365 days. We're going to be going through Joshua chapters 1 to 4 and Psalm 123. Now in chapters 1 to 4 of Joshua, Moses, as we heard yesterday, dies. And God commands Joshua to ready himself and Israel to move to the land of Canaan, the promised land. Chapter 2, Joshua sends spies into Jericho, finding the prostitute named Rahab to help him spy on Jericho. And he has a pretty sweet deal for her if she helps him out. And then chapters 3 and 4, Joshua is commanded to cross over the Jordan into Canaan, which he then instructs 12 leaders, one from each tribe of Israel, to take a rock upon them that they will carry to the other side, along with the Ark of the Covenant, as a memorial to God, and they are to set the rocks on the other side, placing this memorial for all times, symbolizing that the waters of the Jordan were cut off. We continue to see God's miracles abound with God's people, this time with the Jordan, kind of like the Red Sea, but a little bit different. Anyways, Psalm 123 is a psalm of ascent. This is one of 15 psalms of ascent. We talked about earlier psalms of ascent. Now this is a psalm of petition, a community lament. So crying out to God. So let's get started. Joshua chapters 1. After the death of Moses, the servant of the Lord said to Joshua, son of Nun, Moses' aide, Moses, my servant, is dead. Now then, you and all the people are to get ready to cross the Jordan River into the land I'm about to give them, to the Israelites. I will give you every place where you set your foot, as I promised Moses. Your territory will extend from the desert to Lebanon, and from the great rivers, the Euphrates, all the Hittite country, to the great sea on the west. No one will be able to stand up against you all the days of your life. As I was with Moses, so I will be with you. I will never leave you, nor forsake you. Be strong and courageous, because you will lead these people to inherit the land I swore to your forefathers to give them. Be strong and very courageous. Be careful to obey all the laws my servant Moses gave you. Do not turn from it to either the right or to the left, that you may be successful wherever you go. Do not let the book of the law depart from your mouth. Meditate on it day and night. Right? We see that this is the preamble to Psalm 1. So that you may be careful to do everything written in it. Then you'll be prosperous and successful. Have I not commanded you? Be strong and courageous. Do not be terrified. Do not be discouraged. For the Lord your God will be with you wherever you go. So Joshua ordered the officers of the people, "Go through the camp and tell the people, get your supplies ready. 3 days from now you will cross the Jordan here to go in and take possession of the land the Lord your God is giving you for your own." But to the Reubenites, the Gadites, and the half-tribe of Manasseh, Joshua said, "Remember the command that Moses, the servant of the Lord, gave you. The Lord your God is giving you rest and has granted you this land. Your wives, your children, and your livestock may stay in the land that Moses gave you east of the Jordan, but all your fighting men, fully armed, must cross over ahead of your brothers. You are to help your brothers until the Lord gives them rest, and he has done for you, and until they too have taken possession of the land that the Lord your God is giving them. After that you may go back and occupy your own land, which Moses, the servant of the Lord, gave you east of the Jordan, towards the sunrise." Then they answered Joshua, "Whatever you have commanded us, we will do, and wherever you send us, we will go. Just as we fully obeyed Moses, so we will obey you. Only may the Lord your God be with you, as with Moses. Moreover, rebels against your word, and whoever rebels against your word and does not obey the words, whatever you may command them, will be put to death. Only be strong and courageous." Oh, these are awesome. Then Joshua, son of Nun, secretly sent 2 spies from Shittim. "Go look over the land," he said, "especially Jericho." So they sent and entered the house of a prostitute named Rahab and stayed there. The king of Jericho was told, "Look, some of the Israelites have come here tonight to spy out the land." So the king of Jericho sent his message to Rahab, "Bring out the men who came to you and entered your house, because they have come to spy out the whole land." But the woman had taken the 2 men and hidden them. She said, "Yes, the man came to me, but I didn't know where they had come from. At dusk, when it was time to close the city gate, the men left. I don't know which way they went. Go after them quickly. You may catch up with them." She had taken them on the roof and hidden them under the stalks of flax she had laid out on the roof. So the men set out in pursuit of the spies on the road that led to the fords of the Jordan. And as soon as the pursuers had gone out, the gate was shut. Before the spies laid down for the night, she went up onto the roof and said to them, "I know that the Lord has given this land to you, and that a great fear of you has fallen on us, so that all who live in this country are melted in fear because of you. We have heard how the Lord dried up the waters of the Red Sea for you when you came up out of Egypt, and what you did to Sihon and Og, the 2 kings of the Amorites east of the Jordan, whom you completely destroyed. When we heard of it, our hearts melted, and everyone's courage failed because of you. For the Lord your God, the God who's in heaven, the heaven above, and on the earth below. Now then, please swear to me by the Lord that you will show kindness to my family, because I have shown kindness to you. Give me a sure sign that you will spare the lives of my father and mother, my brother and my sister, and all who belong to them, and that you will save us from death." "Our lives for your lives," the men assured her. "If you don't tell what we are doing, we will treat you kindly and faithfully when the Lord gives us this land." So she let them down by a rope through the window, for the house she lived in was part of the city wall. Now she had said to them, "Go to the hills, so the pursuer will not find you. Hide yourself there 3 days until they return, and then go on your way." The men said to her, "This oath you made us swear will not be binding on us unless when we enter the land you have tied this scarlet cord in the window through which you let us down with, and unless you have brought your father and mother, your brother, and all your family into your house. If anyone goes outside your house into the street, his blood will be on his own head. We will not be responsible. As for anyone who is in the house with you, this blood will be on our head, if a hand is laid on him. But if you tell what we are doing, we will be released from the oath you made us swear." "Agreed," she replied. "Let it be as you say." So she sent them away, and they departed, and she tied the scarlet cord in the window. When they left, they went into the hills and stayed there 3 days, until the pursuers had searched all along the road and returned without finding them. Then 2 men started back. They went down out of the hills, forded the river, and came to Joshua, son of Nun, and told him everything that had happened to them. They said to Joshua, "The Lord has surely given us the whole land into our hands. All the people are melting in fear because of us." Chapter 3. Early in the morning, Joshua and all the Israelites set out from Shittim. and went to Jordan, where they camped before crossing over. After 3 days, the officers went throughout the camp and giving orders to the people, "When you see the ark of the covenant of the Lord your God, and the priests who are the Levites carrying it, you are to move out from your positions and follow it. Then you will know which way to go, since you have never been this way before. But keep a distance of about 1,000 yards between you and the ark. Do not go near it." Joshua told the people, "Consecrate yourselves, for tomorrow the Lord will do amazing things among you." Joshua said to the priests, "Take up the ark of the covenant and pass one ahead of the people." So they took it up and went ahead of them. And the Lord said to Joshua, "Today I will begin to exalt you in the eyes of all Israel, so they may know that I am with you as I was with Moses. Tell the priests who carry the ark of the covenant, when you reach the edge of the Jordan's water, go and stand in the river." Joshua said to the Israelites, "Come here and listen to the words of the Lord your God. This is how you will know that the living God is among you, and that he will certainly drive out before you the Canaanites, the Hittites, the Hivites, the Perizzites, the Girgashites, the Amorites, and the Jebusites. See, the ark of the covenant of the Lord of all the earth will go into the Jordan ahead of you. Now then, choose 12 men from the tribe of Israel, one from each tribe. And as soon as the priest who carries the ark of the Lord of all the earth, sets foot in the Jordan, its waters flowing downstream will be cut off and stand up in a heap." So when the people broke camp to cross the Jordan, the priest carrying the ark of the covenant went ahead of them. Now the Jordan is at flood stage all during harvest. Yet as soon as the priests who carried the ark reached the Jordan and their feet touched the water's edge, the water from upstream stopped flowing. It piled up in a heap a great distance away at a town called Adam, in the vicinity of Zarethan, while the waters flowing down the sea of the Arabah, the salt sea, was completely cut off. So the people crossed over opposite Jericho. The priest who carried the ark of the covenant of the Lord stood firmly on dry ground in the middle of the Jordan, while all Israel passed by until the whole nation had completed the crossing on dry ground. Chapter 4. And when the whole nation had finished crossing the Jordan, the Lord said to Joshua, "Choose 12 men from amongst the people, one from each tribe, and tell them to take up 12 stones from the middle of the Jordan, from right where the priest stood, and to carry them over with you, and put them down in the place where you stay tonight." So Joshua called together 12 men who had appointed from the Israelites, one from each tribe, and said to them, "Go over before the ark of the Lord your God in the middle of the Jordan. Each of you is to take up a stone on his shoulder according to the number of the tribes of Israel, to serve as a sign amongst you. In the future, when your children ask you, 'What do these stones mean?' tell them that the flow of the Jordan was cut off before the ark of the covenant of the Lord. When it crosses the Jordan, the water of the Jordan were cut off. These stones are to be a memorial to the people of Israel forever." So the Israelites did as Joshua commanded them. They took 12 stones from the middle of the Jordan, according to the number of the tribes of Israel, as the Lord had told Joshua, and they carried them over with them to the camp, where they put them down. Joshua set up the 12 stones that had been in the middle of the Jordan at a spot where the priests who carried the ark of the covenant had stood, and they are there to this day. Now the priests who carried the ark remained standing in the middle of the Jordan until everything the Lord had commanded Joshua was done by the people, just as Moses had directed Joshua. The people hurried over it, and as soon as all of them had crossed, the ark of the Lord and the priests came to the other side while the people watched. The men of Reuben, Gad, and half-tribe of Manasseh crossed over armed in front of the Israelites, as Moses had directed them. About 40,000 armed for battle crossed over before the Lord to the plains of Jericho. That day the Lord exalted Joshua in the sight of all Israel, and they revered him all the days of his life, just as they had revered Moses. Then the Lord said to Joshua, "Command the priests carrying the ark of the testimony to come up out of the Jordan." When Joshua commanded the priests, "Come up out of the Jordan," the priests came up out to the river, carrying the ark of the covenant of the Lord. No sooner had they set their feet on dry ground than the waters of the Jordan returned to their place and ran at flood stage as before. On the 10th day of the first month, the people went up from the Jordan and camped at Gilgal on the eastern border of Jericho. And Joshua set up at Gilgal the 12 stones they had taken out of Jordan. He had said to the Israelites, "In the future, when your descendants ask their fathers, 'What do these stones mean?' tell them Israel crossed the Jordan on dry ground." For the Lord your God dried up the Jordan before you until you had crossed over. The Lord your God did to the Jordan just as what he had done at the Red Sea when he dried it up before us until he had crossed over. He did this so that the people on the earth might know that the hand of the Lord is powerful, and so that you might always fear the Lord your God. Here ends our first reading. Our second reading comes from Psalm 123, a psalm of ascent. I lift my eyes up to you whose throne is in the heavens. As the eyes of slave look to the hand of their masters, as the eyes of the maid look to the hand of her mistress, so our eyes look to the Lord our God, till he shows us his mercy. Have mercy on us, O Lord, have mercy on us, for we have endured much contempt. We have endured much ridicule from the proud, much contempt from the arrogant. There ends our reading. It's very similar to Psalm 121 in that we are to lift our eyes up and see where God's help has come from the throne that is in heaven, it says. As the eyes of a slave looks up to the hand of the master, or the maid to his mistress, so our eyes look up to God till he shows us his mercy. And so there's a beautiful thing. And then there's a petition for have mercy on those because they're being ridiculed by the proud and the arrogant, and they've been shown contempt. But we must remember the start of this psalm, that where are we to lift our eyes up? To God on his throne, for that is our hope. As we go through this season of Advent, we have heard this last Sunday about hope. The first candle that is lit is the candle of hope. We have hope in God, our Savior and Lord. And then first we talked about Joshua. Here we see Joshua again is like Moses, is one who carries the mantle of leadership. Unlike Moses and Aaron, Joshua is by his own in doing this. He also has Caleb, but we see most of this is done strictly with Joshua in mind. And Joshua, he's much more forward than Moses. He doesn't complain about not having a voice or having anything that's holding him back. He very much goes in very self-assured, which is great because, well, not self-assured. God is behind him in this. God gives him this strength, as he did with Moses. But we see this. He sends two men secretly to go into Jericho to find out what is going on in the land. And he obviously picks two that are very reliable because they don't mince words. They don't take any extra time to do anything. They go in. They're very straightforward. They find Rahab. They figure out the land. And then they make this oath with Rahab that if she keeps the secret and if she lets them out and covers for them, that she then, when they overcome the land, can put a red scarlet in her rope, in her garment, in her window, and that then if she takes any and every piece of her family that is to be saved in that household, that they will be saved. Kind of similar to what we see in the Passover, right? I mean, putting the blood over in order that all might be saved in the house, or the firstborn would be saved. But in this case, all are saved in the house, not just the firstborn. The whole family of Rahab will be saved, which is a really beautiful of how God protects us in our houses when we dedicate ourselves to God. And then we see the crossing the Jordan, very similar to the Red Sea, but this time it piles up in a place called Adam. It's interesting that that's the name that's used. I mean, they could have used a lot of words, but Adam is the name of this place. In the vicinity, it says Zarethan. So they cross over, and the ark then stands in the stead. And this is a beautiful imagery that God, right? God is supposed to be the symbol. The ark is the symbol of where God resides. And so the symbol is that God is the one that stands in the fjord. He's the one that stands in the in-between. He is the one that is able to hold back the rivers in order so that the people might cross. And then it says when the people have, not only do the people cross, but then he gets 12 leaders to go and pick the rocks that are in the middle of the Jordan, pick them and then put them where he will lay them as a memorial for the people, to make the people realize that this was done by God. Very beautiful symbol. God stands in the stead. And I think you can't have a more beautiful imagery. And this will later be a symbol of Christ. So Christ on the cross stands in our stead. He is the one who takes all the anything that can harm us. He takes everything that could harm us and puts that upon himself and dies for that. And so God is, what a beautiful picture of God protecting us, standing in our stead, the ark, causing for this great divide to happen in order so that we might go through dry land, from the desert to the promised land. God is the one that takes us through the desert. God is the one who takes us through the waters all the way to the promised land. May you ever remember this when you think of what God has done for you this day. May you have a blessed day. Amen.